Running is bad for your joints. What the? No,
Mhm.
this person asked, I thought that the running is bad for your joints assumption died over 10 years ago, which is the last time I looked into the associations between running and hip/knee osteoarthritis development. However, I recently noticed a lot of people stating this as though it is obvious, a proven fact, including a well-known stilted longevity doctor who did a Q&A and stated that he is too heavy to run despite being without joint issues and it's quote not worth the risk. I thought at least recreational running seemed protective against the development of, quote, degenerative disease. Did something change in the literature recently? Does risk for degenerative joint disease actually increase based off of weight, prior knee injury, or as one approaches elite level of running volume? A lot of stuff in here. And fortunately, some of these are answerable questions. But the way I think about this from the start is that people are assuming there's some sort of, quote, orthopedic cost to doing particular movements that scales in some sort of manner with body weight, for example, and training volume. And I think that's, you know, if you don't know anything about, uh, you know, what the data says here and what actually plays out in real life, that makes sense almost intuitively. You're like, well, look, you're stressing the body, you're putting some sort of stress upon it, and maybe you have some added stress from the body weight, for example, and then you're doing a bunch of volume, that's a high level of quote orthopedic cost. It makes sense. And then, that's fine. Fine hypothesis, but then you have to go investigate that and see, well, what does the data actually say? So Austin is our resident osteoarthritis expert. We've done a few podcasts on this, so pretty well prepared. How does this question strike you? What do you think about it?
Yeah, I would first definitely advise this person to go back. It might have been maybe 4 or 5 months or so when we did our last teaching
Teaching
rounds
round.
episode on osteoarthritis. That was our last like pretty comprehensive treatment of this topic. And I think we're both pretty pleased with how that ended up coming out. So I'll first just talk briefly about the spectrum of quote unquote disease that we're talking about here, because the concept of degenerative joint disease or osteoarthritis is something that we can often see in medical reports, for example, off of x-rays. I would call that like radiographic DJD or radiographic OA. But that's not the same thing or synonymous with clinical osteoarthritis, meaning that the person has signs and symptoms of that disease that are commensurate and make sense.